Welcome to House of Ghouls Horror Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Ian VanGhoul, joined as always with my co-host and best friend, Colby Does Horror. Colby, how are you doing this week, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always welcome, like I said last week.
No, it's been a good week.
Hell yeah. We'll get into it here. But today we have a special guest. So he's the writer and director of the brand new psychological thriller, Beautiful Friend. It's now available to buy or rent on Prime Video. But please welcome Truman Kewley to the show. Truman, thanks so much for being here, man. How are you doing?
Dude, this is awesome. So happy to be hanging with you guys. Hopefully, I can give you some information that's valuable or entertaining.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. So before we kind of get into the episode, usually when we have a kind of first time guest, we'll just throw a couple icebreaker questions out, let you get a little, comfortable, used to the flow. So I guess my first question is kind of what made you want to become a filmmaker?
Oh man, it's like that's a question of like why do anything, you know? Um, I think when I was really young, I saw a movie called Three Kings, like a war movie. I was really young when it came out, and I
Mhm.
saw it in the theater. And in the film, like one of the guys, amazing movie. I haven't seen it since and whatever year it came out. I was born in '91. I don't know what year it came out, but I was like probably like nine.
Mhm.
And they're describing the story of when the guy's head flies off. He's like, oh, his head flew up 7 feet in the air, or 9 feet in the air, whatever the line is. And then they show a reenactment of the guy's head popping off. And I remember being a little kid, like, how, like, I know it's not real, but how did they do that? It's amazing. And I just like, out of curiosity, started researching how people's heads came off in movies. And then that turned into how are movies made. And that evolved into like essentially a life like my childhood of unintentionally studying how movies were made. And then one day I woke up and I was like, pretty sure I know how to make a movie. And I called somebody that I knew. I literally just woke up one day. I was like, shit, dude, I think I know how to make a movie. So I called somebody I knew and I was like, hey, I think I know how to make a movie. And they're like, cool, man. And I was like, what do you think I should do? I could probably just hang up and start making movies. And I was like, yeah, I guess, but like I don't have a camera. Okay, we'll go figure out how to get one and then go start making movies. And then I was like, all right, sounds good. And I never stopped since then. And that was probably 15 years ago.
That's amazing. I love it started with Three Kings.
I
Me and
know.
Colby were just talking about that the other day and how fucking underrated it is.
Dude, I literally haven't seen it since it came out in theaters, but it stuck with me, obviously.
That's awesome. So, um, I know with this film, it's more of a thriller. Uh, I would say more of like a real life horror. So I wanted to ask, are you a fan of horror movies?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm really a fan of weird stuff. I mean, I love like trauma stuff, like old trauma films where it's
Oh
like
yeah.
just ridiculous stuff. Like Decapitated was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I watched it probably 1,000 times. Like a shitty trauma movie. I mean, I love the trauma movies, don't get me wrong. Shitty in the best sense.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I like anything that's unique. I like stuff that's unintentionally funny with horror. I like stuff that's, rooted in reality. I mean, like to me, some of the scariest movies are like Come and See. Like that movie's terrifying, and that's not really
Love
a horror
come and
movie,
see.
right? I don't know if it's like would be categorized as horror, but it's like terrifying. And
Right.
films like Kids,
Another banger.
like Requiem for a Dream, movies like that really affected me.
I just
And
watched Requiem today.
I mean, it's hard for me to watch.
It's so hard, but I needed a fucked up movie to review.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a really good one to dive into for sure if that's what you're looking for. But yeah, I just like stuff. I like movies that I never want to watch again. I like watching something that I know will affect me and alter the way I view society or view myself or view the world, and then uh but I don't actually ever want to watch them again.
Dude, I have one for you.
Okay,
Have
I
you
got
ever
a
heard of
question.
Playground?
No, but I heard you talking about it. I heard you talking about it on the podcast, and I was like, shit, dude, I'm definitely gonna watch that. It sounds terrible. Oh man, the subject is just based off the little thing, like the
Mhm.
excerpt I heard from you. It sounds like a nightmare, but I'm gonna watch it for sure.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten the images out of my head. It's horrible.
Did you guys see New Order? It came out like 2020. It's a Mexican film in Spanish.
Mm-mm.
Fuck,
No.
dude.
I'm gonna add to
Might
my
be one
list
to
right
check out.
now.
I loved it. I don't know how it was received. Um, it's basically like a civil uprising, and it goes really hardcore.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
I just added it to my list.
Hell yeah. But yeah, I mean, everything that you said that makes perfect sense after seeing Beautiful Friend, because I feel like that movie fits right in there with those. Like it's a fantastic movie, but it can be very hard to watch given the content.
That's awesome that you feel aligned in that, and I agree with you. I don't like watching it, so
I've watched it 2.5 times now. I thought it
that's
was better. I thought it was better my second watch.
I agree.
that's amazing. Yeah, there's little
Absolutely.
things in there for sure that you may not pick up on, or
Hmm.
might make a little more sense if you sit with it a little bit. But it's definitely a very divisive film that was like not that wasn't by accident. Obviously, we kind of went into it like I went into it knowing we had a really small team working on it, and I told everyone, the cast and crew, before we started. I was like, if we do this properly, people should not be able to finish this movie. It should feel so real and it should hurt so much that people will walk out or turn it off and not be able to get through it. Like that's our goal with the project. So
I really like that because of the subject matter in this movie. Like that's how people should view the subject matter as it is. So I thought you captured that perfectly.
that's awesome, dude. I mean, I could talk for forever about it. I don't know if you guys got specific stuff, but I'll tell you whatever you want to know about the making of it or anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll run into a few of our normal segments, and then we'll talk all about Beautiful Friend.
Cool.
Cool. So some horror movie news then from the past week. So we're just gonna get the sad news out of the way right now. For anyone who hasn't heard, uh, that the legendary filmmaker David Lynch passed away yesterday at 78 years old. Of course, known for a plethora of amazing movies, Eraserhead, Twin Peaks, Elephant Man, Blue Velvet, many more. But R.I.P. to an absolute legend.
Yeah, that sucks. I literally just talked about Eraserhead a couple days or like 2 days ago or something. I did a video
Mhm.
with it in it, and like a few hours later, I saw the news. I was like, no fucking way.
Yeah, it's one of those that like yeah, he was 78 years old, but like it's just one of those like you just never expect to hear like David Lynch passed
Yeah.
away. Like you don't even think of him in like that context. He's just one of those people that's gonna live forever.
Just a
So yeah, it
unique
was
guy, dude.
yeah,
He's so unique. Yeah.
yeah, it was quite a shock and very unfortunate. So not a good start to 2025 by any means. So in movie news, Scream 7.
God
Not sure
damn
how
it.
you feel about Scream, Truman.
Dude,
Scream 7
can't
has
wait.
some casting updates. So Jasmine Savoy Brown is officially returning as Mindy. In less fun news, Joel McHale has been cast as Sydney's husband, Mark Evans, not Mark and Cade, like everyone thought. And when I heard this yesterday, I was like, what? But thinking about it since then, they never did actually say that Mark Kincaid was her husband. But the last we saw of part three, she was happily with Mark Kincaid, and then she mentions her husband Mark in like Scream 4 or 5. So I mean, they kind of led you to assume it would be the same Mark. So the fact that it's a different Mark and it's a different actor and it's Joel McHale, I'm not happy about it.
I like Joel McHale in comedies, but Scream? No.
Right? Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. I liked him in Deliver Us from Evil. That was about it. But I don't know.
I liked him in
it's already
It's a Wonderful Knife. He
yeah, he's
wasn't
all right
bad
in
in
that.
that one actually.
Yeah. Yeah, he's hit or miss, but I don't know. I'm already expecting a dumpster fire for Scream 7, so we'll see what happens. Are you up to date on the Scream films?
I'm not. I'm not at all.
It's probably for the best. I I love them. I love the franchise, but it's I don't know.
I'll
My
have to
hopes are
do
not high.
I'll do a marathon. I'll do
Hey,
all six the night before seven comes out. And I'll go see it.
there we go. So in better news, The Last of Us season 1 is getting a 4-disc steelbook 4K release. It's scheduled to hit shelves on March 18th. The cover art is fucking gnarly, and it comes with a bunch of special features. So I'm very stoked about that. I love that show, and I love steelbooks, so it's a win-win for me. Did you see that, Colby?
I didn't, but is the one steelbook I messaged you about in the news today?
Yes.
Oh, it is?
Wait, I don't know which one was it.
Evil Dead.
Oh no.
I don't know the exact date, but I also think it's a March release. Walmart is doing a steelbook release of Evil Dead 2013,
Hell yeah.
which is one my second favorite movie of all time, so I'm definitely snagging that one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean I have it on normal Blu-ray,
Mhm.
but I absolutely need it on steelbook.
Yeah, I have it on DVD, Blu-ray, and now I'm gonna get it on steelbook.
Hell yeah. Can't wait. So speaking of more Blu-rays, um, Looky Loo is now available for pre-order on Blu-ray and VHS. It'll be released officially on February 14th, but you can pre-order it now through Scream Team Releasing's website. I'll put that link in the show notes. Uh, we've talked about Looky Loo here. We're friends with Jason and Nolan, and they will be on a future episode. And Looky Loo fucking slaps, and we can't wait for everyone to be able to see it. So go pre-order Looky Loo on Blu-ray now. And the last bit of Blu-ray news is our dear brother Victor Gabriel. His film Blood Gorge is finally on Blu-ray. It comes with his first film, Kroll, The Cross Village Encounter, and you can pick up the Blu-ray or a VHS copy on Future Video's website. So that link will also be in the show notes. So go scoop all of that up. So, what have you watched this week, Colby?
This week I really haven't gotten a lot in because work's been so busy, but I was lucky enough to see Peter Pan, Neverland Nightmare in the theater. I saw Wolfman yesterday. Um, I watched Requiem for a Dream this morning. What a way to start your day, you know? And then, oh, I watched Frogman again last night.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I just threw it on because I was bored.
Love that.
But yeah, not too much this week.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I also checked out Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. Fucking
Banger.
rips. I watched Skinner for the first time, which is a 1993 Ted Raimi serial killer movie.
Yes, I watched your review on that. I want to see it. I added it to my list already.
Hell yeah, yeah, it's wild. Fucking Ricky Lake is in it also.
I remember her talk show growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's Ted Raimi he goes wild in it. It's a campy good time. I rewatched my favorite James Wan movie, Death Sentence.
Is that the
Fucking
Kevin Bacon one?
yes,
Okay.
it's so good. And I watched Brutal, which is a 2017 Japanese horror movie. I've fucking just like weird in a good way.
That's one on Tubi, right?
Yes.
Um, is it pretty gnarly?
Yeah, it's extreme. So like there's a lot of stabs, but it's not like
There's a lot of stabs.
it's a lot of stabs and there's gore, but it's not like I don't know, it's like one of those like the content is extreme, but it's not to the level of most extreme films. Like you see some shit, but like it's not I don't know, it's not to that extreme level, if that
It's
makes
not straight up coochie stabs like fucking Torture the Flesh.
there are coochie stabs, but it's you see the act more so than the actual penetration.
Very good word.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, So yeah, I mean it's wild. It's a good time. I went to go see the Wolfman today, and so apparently I had checked Wednesday for the show times, and they apparently changed show times on Wednesday that I was not aware of. So I was under the impression had a showing at noon. I was like, that works out perfectly. I could check it out before I pick up my kid from the bus stop. I get there, there's no cars, so I'm fucking stoked. I'm like, I'm gonna have this whole theater to myself, enjoy this movie. And I get up to the door and it's locked. And I'm like, what the shit? So I checked my phone. They changed the show time. So I was not able to see it today at least. So
I wouldn't be too mad.
yeah, that's what I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been something I was like really hyped for. And then I would have been really salty about it. But I'll get there either tomorrow or Sunday, maybe, but we'll see. So Truman, what'd you watch this week?
I watched Nosferatu, like I was telling you guys. Uh,
What'd you think?
Visually is amazing. I thought it was a really fun ride. So fucking cool. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun.
Visually, I think it's one of the best films in the past decade.
Well, dude, the way that it's like the way the color is
Mhm.
alone is so fascinating where it's like this like blue, gray, black and white, like this gray, black and white tone, but then it seamlessly transitions in and out of color and that kind of like feeds the narrative in a weird way where it's like we're going to this muted dreamlike world, but then we're sort of back in reality once we get some color. It's like it was, very beautifully put together and it's clearly very well thought out.
Mhm.
I thought it was awesome.
I'm a huge Eggers fan. I really liked the movie. I didn't love it, but I just want to go see it again. I was just really tired when I went and saw it on Christmas Day, hang out with the kids and the wife all day. So I think it was my experience that made me not love the movie, but I'm definitely going to give it a rewatch.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm right
enjoyed
there.
it. I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite movie I've ever seen in my life. It
Mhm.
dragged a little bit for me, certain moments. But it was like I think it was like day three. It's like, wait, three more, there's another day that we got to get through. Let's get to the end already, dude. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. That was cool. Haven't seen much recently.
You said well, you saw something else recently too.
Yeah, I went and watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind last night for the very first time at the Academy Museum Theater here in LA, which is like one of the nicest theaters, like 1,000 person massive venue attached to a museum. And yeah, it's really unique story. Charlie Kaufman wrote it, and I'm a big fan of Charlie Kaufman's unique mind and how he structures stuff. He's very inspirational to me. I love the way he writes. I think it's very. You watch a movie that he wrote that doesn't matter who directs it, and you're like, oh yeah, this is his. This is a Charlie Kaufman script. You know that it's his because nobody else could write it that way. He's real. He's so vulnerable in his stories and in the people he puts in his stories.
Mhm.
It's, I'm a big fan. So that was the first time I'd ever seen it. I saw probably the best viewing experience you possibly could in that theater, and yeah, that was fascinating. They did so much fun stuff, and it's I think 20 years old now.
Yeah, I love that that was your first time seeing the movie because I love that movie. Um, but most people, 20 years after a movie comes out, they wouldn't be able to experience it in a theater again. So I fucking love that. Like that's amazing that you were able to have that experience.
It's killer, dude. We got a bunch of venues out here, a bunch of theaters that are like playing legacy cinema almost primarily, that being one of the theaters. But we have a handful of like independent theaters and nonprofits that are popping up that are like only playing fucking, you know, like legacy fucking bangers, like massive movies. And then some are playing just weird, bizarre, unique underground stuff. So there's options for unique viewing in a theater experience.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. I love that LA has that. I wish that would spread out more across the country.
I think it's like fairly new here. It hasn't always been like this. Like there's been a couple theaters popping up that are doing it. So it's it's always been a thing, but there's more and more independent, like small single screen independent theaters popping up, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's amazing. Hell yeah. With all that being said, then we'll get into Beautiful Friend. So for anyone watching, listening, I put the teaser before the teaser out, kind of giving you all a heads up to check out this movie, so that you could fully enjoy the episode. So hopefully you have all done that. If not, you know, I don't really want to tiptoe around spoilers. So we're just going to talk, and if spoilers come up, they come up. So this is your warning. If you haven't seen Beautiful Friend, please check it out. Like I said, you can buy or rent it on Amazon Prime right now. Check it out and then come back to the episode so you can fully understand everything we're talking about. So yeah. So with that being said, you had already mentioned it, Truman, but the one thing that the first thing that stood out to me is that this movie feels real. Like it's a very realistic uh film, and that's what makes it more so a horror movie to me, more than, vampires and monsters and shit like that. Like this feels like a real life horror movie.
That was exactly the what I was hoping for. Well, that's what I was going for. Was you know when you're setting out to make a movie, essentially by yourself with a couple of people like friends that uh, you have to be a crazy person. And really, the only genre where you can have reach, like it's not that sexy of a story of how it came to be. It's like really the only genre that you can actually find a real audience and have an impact is kind of the horror thriller genre on a really micro scale, because it's just the audience accepts the limitations of independent filmmaking more as long as you have a story, a real story that people can connect to or relate to or be disgusted by or whatever it may be that draws the audience in. But for whatever reason, I feel like the horror thriller community is more accepting of independent projects that aren't studio big things with super famous dudes and you know so yeah, I was like I'm gonna make a movie, and I was trying to think of the scariest thing I could possibly think of, and I toyed around with different concepts of supernatural elements or uh whatever. What's real is what's most terrifying, and I was like that's it. It's not about thinking up coming up with something that's scary. It's like what actually happens, fairly often, statistically extremely often, that we don't really examine is what's most terrifying. And I had also at the time, around that same time of like deciding, okay, I'm gonna take the step and make a film myself. Um, I had watched one of the newer Rambo movies. I don't remember which one it was, but like Rambo's niece gets kidnapped by her friend. Rambo's niece goes to Mexico with her friend, and then her friend sells her to the cartel, and then she gets injected with heroin or drugs, and then forced to have sex for money, and um, eventually, spoiler, she ends up dying. But the whole thing, that whole BC plot happens in like 3 to 6 minutes of screen time, and it's entirely strictly used as motivation for Rambo to go murder 200 people and for the audience to be like, yes, let's go murder all these bad guys who are like, forcing this woman to have sex for money. But while I was watching, I was like, holy shit, what's happening to this girl is the real story. It's just terrifying. But I feel like it's just something that's happening a lot. And then we don't really examine it, and it's kind of we're desensitized to it because it is used in cinema so often, for other things, and usually not the emphasis in films. And then at the same time, I had read the manifesto of a school shooter, Elliot Rodger, when he did that in 2014.
Mhm.
Right when it happened, I read it because he lived in San Fernando Valley in Sherman Oaks, like not that far from where I lived. So I know people who went to high school with him. So when it happened, they're like, dude, some guy that we might have like went to a party and crossed paths with, uh, you know, just killed a bunch of people, and they put his manifesto out. You got to read it because we might be in it. I wasn't in it, but people I knew were in the manifesto. But I remember reading it, thinking like, I mean, what he did was so terrible. But in his language, it was like there's elements of understanding a very, very unstable, very lonely, isolated person that just needed somebody, who he just didn't have somebody and didn't let anybody in. And that just like isolation spiraled year after year. And he got deeper and deeper and deeper into this way of thinking that was just terrifying. And anyone who's felt lonely, you know, may not want to admit it, but they can understand elements to, feeling this similar feelings, although he used it to justify committing the worst thing you could do. Uh, but he's just, a sad, lonely guy, with who was mentally unstable. And
Yeah,
that just really
absolutely.
stuck with me. So I was like, okay, that's it. I'm gonna make a story about a guy who's unstable and spirals, and this was around COVID. And I was like, okay, so people are isolated. The only thing on the news is COVID related news. There's for sure so many crimes happening that are going unreported, and like nobody's concerned. Nobody's going outside. You're not allowed to. It's like, so yeah, that's kind of the inception of it.
That's
But like,
wild.
yeah, like I mean, there's plenty of movies with like violence against women, stuff like that. But the way you actually capitalized and showed things, like you didn't glorify it at all. It's still very unsettling how it's shown in this movie, but I don't feel like it's glorified at all whatsoever. And some of the reviews I've seen, that's what it's saying all it is, but I completely disagree.
Oh, dude, there's been some really aggressive hate against it. It's wild.
Very, very
I
aggressive.
I'm pretty sure I think it was like three or four languages I've been told that I should be canceled, but I don't even it's only in English with English subtitles, so I don't even know how they're watching it in Russian and Spanish and these other languages.
Yeah, it's wild. Because like I was looking at it on Letterboxd, and like a lot of like that's all it's saying is just like, of course it's directed by a man, all this. I'm like, well, clearly the message went way over your fucking head.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's for sure elements to like to the story where it's uncomfortable for people to admit
Mhm.
that they understand it to any degree, or that there's been comments of like, oh, this is, I mean, there's been a lot of comments about this. It's a very divisive film. There's a lot of people on both sides. There's people who really appreciate it and see the value in it, and then there's some people who may be less inclined to want to look at those depths of themselves to understand, uh, how somebody can commit something so terrible
Mhm.
and justify it to themselves, and at the same time you're forced to also experience it with the victim. So it's like this balance of terror on both sides.
And you also, and this also says 2023 it was released. So did this have a film festival circuit run before it was released to the public?
Yeah, so basically, finished filming in June of 2022, and then the first time it played at a festival called Oldenburg International Film Festival in Germany.
Mhm.
Amazing festival in September of 2023.
Okay.
And I was still making some audio tweaks to it and like some color adjustments and tightening a couple shots. It was like still wasn't fully locked, but that's when it played for the first time. Did not play a lot of festivals. Most festivals, some of them, it was interesting because I would submit to some festivals like from recommendations from people from Oldenburg, or people,
Mhm.
somebody would recommend the film to a programmer, and I get an email like, "Holy shit, dude, this movie fucked me up. There's no way I can program this, but if you want to come to the festival, we can give you passes. We'd love to meet you." So it didn't play at that many places. And then I had a sales agent who we did like a limited theatrical with, where it played in LA and New York. Played in New York for a few days, and it played in LA for one. And then I had some issues with the distributor, so I ended up, like we separated. So I just put it out myself, and it's for rent and purchase right now because I am not in control of that. It's just like through an aggregator who pitches it, and Amazon took it and they took it for rent and purchase. I
For
didn't do that. I swear I didn't do that, guys.
for the film festival circuit, what kind of feedback did you get from the ones that where it actually played at?
It was really strong. I mean,
Mhm.
in Oldenburg, we won the award for Best Actress, and we also were like runner up for the German Independence Award. And the audience response was really strong. People were very affected. Some people were like, so one person said that they thought they were going to throw up, and one woman said that she could see herself falling in love with the guy if she was in that situation. And then there was men who would come up to me and be like, "I felt like you were in my head. Like I think those same things." And I was like, "Well, okay, let's examine that a little bit." But yeah, I'm like, "Me
Jesus.
too. I wrote it, so I got you, man." Yeah. So the response was really strong. It
So
definitely makes noise.
was it
It was
Alexandria that won the best actress?
correct. Yeah.
Fucking well deserved.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She did a good job. Adam, unbelievable. Yeah, it's funny, man, because the crew for this movie was like 7 people,
And
maybe.
these are all your friends?
A mix of friends or like people I found on the internet that
Okay.
were willing to like work for like day rates that were somewhat reasonable, who have now become friends. And
That
we did another film. I did another film that's in post right now. I'm editing it right now, and most of the people who worked on Beautiful Friend were on that one as well.
can you give any insights on that one?
Yeah, it's called They Were Asking for It.
Oh,
It's about a young woman who has a long-term boyfriend, and he's depressed and existential, and she's trying to show him how beautiful life is, and he's trying to convince her to aid in his suicide.
Oh, damn.
that
So there's
sounds
like
heavy.
it's not light. It's yeah. Very different movie from Beautiful Friend. It's
Mhm.
got like mystery elements and some thriller elements, and a lot of drama elements to it.
Damn.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's getting
I'm already
close.
very excited for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, Beautiful Friend, that correct me if I'm wrong. That was like your first full length feature, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah, the whole thing is crazy, man. I wrote around what I had access to, like I was like, okay, I have a house and I have this van, and that van I use as like a grip and lighting van because I do like commercials and music video and like music interviews for clients. Um, and I was like, okay, I got the van. I could build it out to be a camper because van life became a big trending topic around that time. And then I knew somebody whose family owned a bunch of vacant desert land in Lancaster, in like the desert outside of LA. And they're like, yeah, do whatever you want out there. You can literally do anything. I'm like, really? We can do anything we want? I'm gonna do some crazy stuff if we can do anything we want. So I just wrote the story around that, and I wrote it quick. And I love to write, I love to read, and so I write a lot. I have a lot of screenplays that are done, but this one was done specifically to do independently because I had never made a movie before, so I can't. First of all, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you can get funding." I'm like, "Who am I going to talk to get funding, dude? I don't know anybody, dude. I know like regular people that don't have
Right.
money like me." Um, so I knew I had to do something where where I would be financing it. So I wrote it specifically to be in that style to aid in the limitations of doing a small film. It's like it's a found footage style, elevated found footage style, even though like the found footage community is telling me that it's not. Technically, every single shot could be captured by one person. From a technical standpoint, there's not one thing that couldn't be done by Daniel. Like every shot could have been captured by Daniel. Every time he's in frame, camera is static. Even if he's pulling up, it's like high end YouTubers will like drive get out of the car, set the camera up on a tripod, hit record, reverse the car, then drive the car into frame, hop out and be like, "What's up, guys?" Like that's what I was thinking, and that's how I structured the shot list. Like every single thing had to be uh, captured by one person, just because we didn't have the crew to be adjusting the lighting for every angle, and we had to be really nimble and fast. So yeah, so the style kind of was designed to aid in the story and also allow the limitations of independent filmmaking to not be a hindrance and actually support the realism of it.
That's awesome. I feel like it all just worked out perfectly.
Mhm.
Like that's crazy how it did work out. But yeah, that's wild. So I wanted to ask you, is there any obviously there's you mentioned a lot of like real life things that have inspired uh your writing in the movie. Were there any other films that played a part in the inspiration for it?
Actually, no. I was specifically like the 2.5 months leading up to filming, I didn't turn the TV on. I didn't watch anything. And while I was shot listing, I didn't watch anything. I didn't want it to feel like anything else. I didn't want it to look like anything else. I know that immediately, like the first article that came out, like referenced like four other movies or filmmakers, and I was like, "Fuck, dude! I was trying to make something unique here." But I think it's just that's how folks kind of rationalize things. They're like, "This
Mhm.
is similar to this and this," even though if, you know, and some of the things that they referenced were absolutely very much aligned, but it was not intentional. I was really trying to not feel or look like anybody.
I felt like it was very unique from the inner dialogue, the atmosphere of the movie, obviously the story, and just the acting felt so natural. That's a reason why it was so unsettling to me, was just how natural and how the acting and dialogue flowed with everybody.
Yeah, I mean, because I did the casting with Uni, my friend Uni, and she doesn't have a casting background, neither do I. The only thing I'd ever cast was like people to be extras in music videos. So we just set up this casting, and you get 1,000 submissions for a role. And Adam Jones, who played Daniel, was the first person that we auditioned, and he came in, and there was like four or five other guys, like a bunch of people showed up early to the audition. So I had set like scheduled them to be separate, but like four or five of them showed up at the same time. And Adam was the first one. They could all hear each other, like they're on the other side of a wall that is unfinished, so they can hear how the audition's going. And Adam started his audition, and immediately I was like 100% this is the guy. Like his cadence, his delivery, his mannerisms, the way he moved his body, the way he looked. Like, I mean, not like physically the way he looked, but like the way he like carried him, the character. I was like, holy shit, dude, this is the guy. And I started laughing because uncomfortably, I laugh at uncomfortable moments.
Mhm.
You know, I laugh at the worst time to laugh usually. And interrupted his monologue or whatever he was doing. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm nervous. Like I haven't done an audition in a while. And I'm like, dude, you are amazing. I am so sorry. Don't look at me when you do it. Let's just do it again. And I knew it was him. Obviously, we auditioned a bunch of other folks just to be, do the job. But immediately I was like, this is our guy.
I
Yeah, he's
love that.
fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, when I asked about the if there were any other movies, there's one that came to mind with this film, and because of the inner monologue, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's American Psycho. So I felt that was very similar, but also it's only similar because of the monologue, because of the inner monologue. But Adam's voice is so like soothing, but if you're listening to what he's saying, like like it could put me to sleep until I listen to what he's saying, and then extremely disturbing. Um,
Yeah.
but I loved it. Like I love that aspect of it. Yeah, I thought he killed that role. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's funny when we went in the studio to do the voiceover recording. My friend Adrian was the engineer, and he had no idea what the movie was about. Like he didn't know what anything about it, and we're just like recording these for 8 hours, 10 hours, and he's just looking at me like, "Dude, what is this? What are you guys doing? This is crazy." I'm like, yeah, making a movie.
I love that. But I agree with Ian. Like I don't think you could have cast a better person for Adam or Daniel.
Dude, he's amazing and he's such a cool guy and he's so nice and made everyone so comfortable immediately. Like being that character,
Mhm.
as soon as we cut, he's the total sweetest, nicest, gentlest guy. So it just made everything easier having him not only being such an amazing talent, but also just being a good guy.
I love hearing that, especially for like fucked up films like this, and then hearing what the people are actually like. Like the first person that comes to mind with that is the August Underground movies. If you've seen that, Fred Vogel is a fucking sweetheart. So seeing like what he's created and like talking to him, it's just insane.
Yeah, my friend Buddy G, who's made some, he made Combat Shop, and he's made
Oh,
a couple other films. He's awesome, and he's the one who programmed my movie in Germany.
okay.
He's the one who like got the screener and was like, "Oh yeah, we're playing this movie." He's so cool, and he told me he's like, "Yeah, the people who make the most fucked up movies are generally the nicest people."
Yeah, it's crazy. Combat Shock, that's another trauma film too.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
he's amazing. That guy's a killer. He's got a handful of really special movies.
So what I want to talk about too. So you're talking about being able to shoot and do whatever you want in the desert. That whole segment in the desert was beyond fucked up. Like from the long, like far away angle of the sexual assault scene that happens, that's up there for one of the most uncomfortable sexual assault scenes I've ever watched. Like Irreversible definitely being up at the top of the list, but that one, that hit was not a comfortable, easy view.
Yeah, it was not comfortable for anybody. I mean, a lot of the process of the filming was really uncomfortable, but everyone was so enthusiastic about it and fully understood the meaning behind what we were doing. So it was just kind of like, let's do it. And Adam and Alexandria became really close in pre-production. They were hanging out every night and became really tight.
Mhm.
So that made things much easier, I think, for them as well. But I mean, day one of filming was essentially kind of just Daniel around the house by himself. Day two was her in chains trying to escape.
Mhm.
And I remember I was operating the camera and I'm behind the camera and I started shaking and I'm in my head. I got butterflies. I'm like, holy shit, this is like screaming for her life, trying to break out of chains. I was like, this is terrible. What are we doing? Like, I have control to stop. I should stop this right now. This is really bad. And then I was like, oh wait, no, that's exactly how I'm supposed to feel. This is exactly what we're supposed to be doing for this particular project. But you write something and you're like, wow, this would be really impactful. Um, and then it's like when you're actually there doing it, I didn't actually think about what it would be like to physically be in the room filming the scenes. I just was like, this would be if I saw this movie, I would have to talk about it. Like that's the way I would describe it. Like
Mhm.
when I was writing it, I was like, I mean, dude, I'm just trying to hold your attention and make you feel something. That was the goal. Like hold your attention and make you feel as much as possible. And when I was putting the script together, I was like, if I saw this, I would have to tell people about it. And that was kind of the approach.
I think you succeeded greatly in that. And another thing that I loved about this film was obviously Stockholm syndrome is a very real thing. You hear about it all the time. And the way that I thought it was leading up to that, like she's actually gonna fall in love with this dude kind of thing. And like it truly makes you think that. And then what actually happens, it's like, oh, dude, like what? Like I don't know where this movie's gonna go because it keeps going different ways. Like even in the desert, I thought he was gonna do what he does to her, kill her, bury her there, and move on to the next victim. So this being just one girl the whole time, like that was a fucking loop for me. It's just everything about this movie. Like it kept me on my toes the whole time, kept my attention like you set out for. It's just it makes me mad that the whole message is going over people's heads because it's a lot deeper than what people are seeing.
Dude, I'm just happy people are watching it. It's awesome. It's amazing. I expected to have some challenging responses. So
Hmm.
it's just fucking cool that people are watching it. I'm just excited to have it out.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because I had different feelings. Like, I had feelings the whole way through it, but I thought it was going to go a different route from what Colby did. But I did real quick. I did want to touch on the rape scene because usually when you have those in movies, it's either for a reason or it's for shock or whatever. This one stands out because this one focuses on Alexandria. And I had a question for you in regards to that. Because I noticed on my rewatch that when that scene's happening, it's like you're focused on her. Like you know what's happening, but you're focused on her face and she's looking just off camera and the kind of light in her eyes just goes out. Like you see that happening in real time. And then towards the end is when she kind of looks straight at the camera. Was that a director choice, or is that something that she did on her own?
Yeah, so I think it was a mix. I was like encouraging to look directly into the camera. I thought that would be really challenging.
Hmm.
Um, but it was like we had discussions even before we started filming about the approach to the character because I think the character was written a little bit more aggressive, like fighting back a little bit more. And but we had chat, and she was like fight, flight, or freeze. For me, I know as myself, I'm a freeze person. I would never fight back. I get scared and I just freeze. I wouldn't know what to do. So I was like, okay, well, that's the character. Let's make it as realistic as possible. Let's lean into what feels natural and let's go with that. So with that particular scene, uh, she freezes. And then there was like I was encouraging like, yeah, it's meant to be him setting up the camera to watch later.
Right.
So her looking into it, realizing like, holy shit, this is happening. It's not only happening, it's being documented.
That's wild. Yeah, when I watched it the first time, then with that scene, obviously I didn't know where it was going to go. So kind of once you see that fire go out in her eyes, I was expecting a gnarly fucking revenge. And on one hand, I'm still kind of bummed that that doesn't happen, but on the other hand, I feel like the fact it doesn't go that route and that it doesn't go the route I was expecting, I appreciate it more for that. But I also thought she was just gonna fucking tear him up at the end.
Yeah, that would be, I think, a more traditional route to take. And I really wanted to just feel as realistic as possible. And in movies, there's always that shift in a character. Like there has to be a character arc where there's the inciting incident and they change for the better or the worse. Um, but I wanted it to feel real because in reality, people don't really have moments like that where they just, oh, this thing happened, so now I'm a completely different person.
Hmm.
Right.
I wanted to maintain the realism as much as possible, and there has been, I mean, some people love the ending, some people absolutely hate it. Some people think that there should have been more victims. Some people are happy that there was, it is very divisive for so many different reasons.
I think it feels more impactful with just the one victim because I mean it makes you feel for her more and more and more instead of switching, oh, here's another victim. Oh, here's another victim. And I didn't feel like there was going to be a revenge aspect to it at all because from the very beginning, all I felt was pure dread. Like nothing good is going to happen in this movie. like when I brought up the Stockholm syndrome, I was like, yeah, it's either gonna be one or two things. Like she's actually falling in love with Daniel, or she's gonna fake it and try to escape. I didn't think she was gonna try to fight him or anything. I was like, I just don't feel like that's gonna happen. And
Yeah, it's great.
part of me wanted her to like that Stockholm syndrome to actually happen because I've never seen that before in a movie. I was like, I would like to see like where that goes.
I had a distributor say, you know, you could end it when she says "I love you," and that could be the end of the movie.
That would be insane.
And I was like, no way, dude. But yeah, there's been a handful of people who've approached me and said that was the hardest scene for them to watch, like worse than the desert stuff.
Mhm.
The moment where she says "I love you" to him, just because it's so like makes your skin crawl that she
Yeah.
would feel that, you know?
Like I had a pit in my stomach during the bedroom scene.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It's
I had a pit in my stomach like the whole fucking movie, but that one definitely stood out.
well, you guys
Yeah,
watch a lot of movies. How did you even hear about Beautiful Friend?
Chuck the movie guy.
that's right.
Dude, dude, we gotta shout out Chuck. He is the man. What a legend.
He actually told me to reach out for you for a screener, but I've already heard the things he said about it and everything. I was like, no, I'm gonna rent it and support it.
That's awesome. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, Chuck is so fucking cool, dude. He is the man.
Yeah, he's a homie. Me,
Oh,
Chuck, and my
absolutely.
wife are all in a group chat together.
That's
Chuck's
so
like family.
that's killer.
Chuck is family for sure. I wanted to say though too, the probably the most I don't know if impactful is the word, but the most effective scene out of all of them. There's a lot of them, but probably the most effect or impactful is so at towards the end. So after the whole Stockholm syndrome, like you think like she's going that route and they have that whole scene together and you're thinking everything's, you know, quote unquote fine. As fine as can be in that situation, right? And once he leaves the house, she's still chained up, and then she starts just ripping at the chains, like, and you realize, like, oh shit, like nothing is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Like
nothing.
that, like I get chills just talking about it now. Like that's probably the most impactful scene for me in that movie.
That's amazing. I mean, it's so cool, man. It's amazing what each person is taking away from the project, and how it's like affecting people differently. I'd be curious to hear like more about your guys' experience watching it and kind of both of you have such a deep knowledge for film and for specifically, you know, this type of film. I'd love to hear more from you guys about your take on it, what you think, you know, what where the value lies, if any, and just, you know, however you guys would describe it.
I'm
You wanna go
trying to yeah, I'm trying to think of the word I used for fuck. What you go first. I have to look up the word I used because I thought of it and I was like, damn, that's like I was proud of myself for when I did my review. So you go first, Ian.
I mean, aside from what I've already said, like I say, it feels very real. Um, and like everything about it is just really, really well done from the acting, the directing, the cinematography, all of it, especially for like first time full length feature. But as far as the movie itself, I I really enjoyed it, not for the content because the content is brutal and disturbing and shit, but like I really enjoyed it because it's very different from what you typically get with this kind of content. So like I said, I was expecting it to turn into a revenge movie, or to go different routes, and the fact that it doesn't is what makes it so unique compared to everything else that I've watched. So I would that would be if it was one word to describe it, I'd say it's unique.
That's amazing. That's
I
awesome.
I think that's the best word too, because like Ian said, we watch a lot of fucked up shit.
Yeah.
And it's not to like feel something, it's just what my content does the best with, like best views, everything like that. So Chuck was telling me how fucked up and disturbing this movie was, so I was like, fuck yeah, let's run it. And he's like, no, he's like, Colby, it's like real shit. And I was like, all right, let's go. And I still expected like fucked up, gory, fucking torture type of shit. But like probably 10 minutes in, I'm like, oh, this is like deep shit, like very deep. And what I said in my review, like I said, the incel behavior, I don't think it glorifies it one bit. I think it actualizes everything that, because this is very real shit. Like you even talk to somebody like this is how somebody said this is how I think. Just the way this actualizes very serious behavior, it's just I think it's a very impactful movie.
That's amazing, dude. I mean, I had never even heard of the term incel until after I was describing the script to people.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, it's about this guy, like he's like isolated and he can't get laid. And I was like really crass about how I was describing it at first because I knew how fucked up it was, and it's probably significantly worse in written word than what we captured. It for sure is. Uh, but people would be like, "Oh, you mean like an incel?" And I'm like, "What the fuck is that? Never. What is that?" I had to look it up. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is exactly the guy." I just didn't know that there was language
Mhm.
for. I knew that there was a massive community of like young men like this, but I didn't know that there was like a an actual term for it. So I like post having the script done, learned what incel was and what the kind of got more into the understanding of the culture after the film, not really even before doing the movie. I know that there's a lot of people that exist like this. I just didn't know the how severe the community is.
I don't think it glorifies that behavior at all. If anything, it brings awareness to it.
Mhm.
Especially I think in casting Adam that he's he's not a bad looking dude. So like, and I think that works for that character because I thought of it too on my second viewing of like, if this dude actually just what acted normal, went about life in a normal way, he would probably get along with a lot of people. He would probably get laid. Uh, but the fact that he sees himself as so much different and has that mindset that he feels like he needs to go about life this way. I think that it brings awareness to a lot of things.
That's funny that you bring that up because while I was watching too, I even thought to myself, I was like, Adam's not a bad looking dude at all. I literally said the same thing to myself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of humanity to the character, you know. People who commit horrendous crimes are also people, you know, which is kind of something we don't want to examine. But I think understanding how somebody thinks or why they think the way they think uh, can help indicate where there's issues in the house or in society or in your community. Like you can identify it clearer and quicker uh, if you can understand it instead of going like, "Oh, these people are terrible," you know, lock them all up. Whatever. It's like if you can understand the how and the why someone gets to this place, like the the spiral of isolation and negative thinking. It's just like sad folks who had um, didn't have the support
Yeah,
and
for sure.
a little
And
unstable.
I'm thinking too, like with the reaction, with the more negative reaction, like those folks, if everything stayed exactly the same, but you put in like a character from The Hills Have Eyes in place of Adam, would they still feel the same way? Or is it just because it's a good looking dude who, they know people like that, like, that look that way and whatnot? Is that why they feel so that it's like glorifying? Like, it's just a thought. It was just something I just thought of that. Like, if you put someone, like I said, a Hills Have Eyes character,
Sure. Yeah.
they'd probably be all about it. They'd be like, oh, this
Yeah.
is entertaining. This, of course, someone like that would act like this.
Yes. Absolutely. I think also if she like won at the end, people would
Hmm.
be like, "Oh, okay, cool." You know, that's what's supposed to happen. Like it's bad things happen and then they win. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. Yep.
But no, Ian, I like that you brought that up because I do think people would view it differently, but that's just Hollywood cinema, you know? Like this is real fucking shit and people don't want to accept that.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's been some like comments of people wanting like why didn't it's all from his perspective. Why don't we get to see her perspective? It's like, well, that's the structure of the film. It's he's making the film that we're watching. That's what makes it well, that would be we'd be watching a different movie if we were watching it any other way.
Right.
Hmm. I think too, like the fact that it is from his perspective, and thinking about other movies that are like that, that if you spend a whole movie with one character from their perspective, and they start off as a piece of shit and they end like by the end, usually you'll like them or you'll like something about them. With Beautiful Friend, I don't like him any more than I did from the beginning. I might understand his thoughts more, but I don't like his character, and you're
There
not supposed to. So I feel like the fact that you don't like his character by the end still should be reason, like it should prove enough that you're not glorifying this behavior.
there was also a very small short point in this movie where I was like, I think it was in the bedroom or when she was in the bathroom. I was like, is she gonna change him? Like, is he gonna be changed?
Jim.
It didn't last very long, but it crossed my mind. I was like, is this gonna end that way?
Yeah, man, it's a challenging movie. I'm so grateful that you guys watched it and want to talk about it. It's awesome. It's this is my dream, so I'm living it actively. It's very cool.
No, I'm beyond excited for your other movie as well. As soon when you told me what it's about, I'm gonna be seated for it. I can't wait.
Oh, dude, I'll get you guys early links. You guys give me feedback while I'm still editing if you're open to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're getting close. We're getting close to having something solid. So it's exciting, man. But I'm really happy with the response from Beautiful Friend, even though there's been so much aggression towards it. I think that's pretty awesome too. Um, Obviously, I'm sorry to put people through that with the nature of what the film is, but I do think that there's value in presenting this information in the way
Absolutely.
that it's presented. So some people aren't going to see that, and you know, when I was putting the movie together, I was saying I can see people watching this in a group and relating to the character to some degree, or at least having not necessarily relating, but having somewhat of an understanding of not fitting in and or the family dynamics that he describes, or kind of being an outcast and the movie ending, but not being comfortable enough to tell your friends that you felt that way.
Hmm.
I think that might be some of the hate where people are like, wait, this makes me feel bad because I kind of understand, but I'm not supposed to understand. And I don't like that. So this is terrible. This is terrible. This is terrible. I think there could be an element of that in some of it, but that could be me just wishful thinking.
I can 1000% see that, honestly.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah. So, are there any plans for like a physical release in the future?
Dude, that would be so cool. I would love to do that. But right now, I'm the only one behind it. So I put it out. I'm going through an aggregator that put it up on Amazon for me. But it's essentially I'm just like a one man band pushing this thing and get it out. And it's like without you guys, without Chuck, without the whole like community behind it, which is really massive shout out to Chuck because he's the one he reached out to me initially and I sent him the screener first and then he was like, dude, I love this movie. I'm gonna get it to everybody I know. And he's 100% lived up to that and beyond. And without you guys, I think maybe 10% of the people who have seen it would have seen it.
Hmm.
I'm so grateful that that I've gotten the opportunity to hang with you guys and get eyes on it, dude. It's so fun.
Yeah, you're 1000% coming back before the release of your next one too.
Hell yeah, dude. Anytime.
We have two questions that we ask every director, actor. They're our favorite questions of the whole show. You want to kick them off, Ian?
So one question is, if you had an unlimited budget and whatever resources you need at your fingertips, if you could remake one horror movie or add a sequel onto an existing franchise of horror, what would it be?
Mm, good question. Mm. Oh man, this is so tough. This is crazy. Um, Remaking a movie is such an interesting concept that I've never really kind of thought about, and like adding a sequel or I think I would probably go with like a classic Trauma remake and just go nuts, just go massive with it. Like do it like a Toxic Avenger, but like
I
super
love
high
that.
budget, A-list celebrities throughout.
Kind of like the Toxic Avenger that we're never gonna fucking get.
That would be awesome, you know?
Hell yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Something like that, maybe. I would go back to Decapitated just because it was the most ridiculous movie ever.
Fuck yeah.
Um, Remaking that would be so fun. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought about remaking or doing anything like that, so that's cool. Yeah, I'll have to think about it more and I'll let you guys know.
I
Absolutely.
like that. That'll work. The other one is if you ever need extras to kill in a movie.
Oh, dude, I'm ready to kill you guys right now.
I love it.
No, for
Great
sure.
answer.
Dude, I have a story. I have a handful of scripts finished. I write every day, so I have a lot of stories that I want to make.
Mhm.
And I have one that I really am pushing to do. The handful of people who have read it, it's a little bit bigger, so I'd need, some backers for real. But the few people who have read it, I talked to Chuck about it too. They've said, "Holy shit, I couldn't put it down. No one will ever agree to be in this movie. No actor will ever be in this movie, and no one will ever give you money to make this movie. But it's fucked up and crazy, and I've never read anything like it." So that's the movie I'm trying to make, and we can definitely get you guys murdered in there.
All
Can I
right.
read it?
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to send it
Yeah,
to you.
please.
Yeah.
I'm actually flying to New York next week to get killed in a movie.
Oh, it's amazing. Have you been practicing? You know how you're gonna do it?
Um, Thankfully that my mouth is gonna be taped, so I don't have to give any lines or anything. I just have to scream and fucking wiggle around, but I'm gonna be tortured in a chair, and then well, I'm not gonna give away how I actually die, but yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be gory as fuck too.
That's awesome. That's so fun. Yeah, dude, I'd love to murder you guys.
We're down. Just let us know. Yeah,
For sure.
anything you need at all, just let us know. You have, any new projects or some news with Beautiful Friend, any updates, let us know and we'll help
Push it
spread the
out.
word. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so grateful, dude. Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just pushing Beautiful Friend out. I have a documentary that also just came out called Affiliated. I interviewed like gang members from different neighborhoods in LA and had them tell their story however they wanted to tell it.
Oh, damn.
And we animated kind of some of their stories. It's heavy and it's like, I've known a handful of the guys for many years. So we got really intimate interviews of talking about what it feels like to shoot somebody for the first time, what it feels like to get shot, what it feels like to break into houses for the first time, kind of the prison system and what that looks like, and as a kid, and how you get into gangs, and it's pretty compelling for some people. I can send you guys a screener if you guys want to check it out.
Yes, please.
Absolutely, dude. Truman does. He's like, hold my beer. I do nothing but fucking deep, heavy shit.
Yeah,
Right.
dude, what interests me, man. I want to. It's just like with that particular project with Affiliated, like I just wanted to watch it.
Mhm.
I wanted to watch that, and I couldn't find anything that wasn't like gang history related, or like specific neighborhood related. I just like the subculture of it has so much influence on kind of all of modern culture now, like the hip hop, fashion, every genre of music has elements of hip hop. It all stems from, gangster rap.
Mhm.
So just like, kind of fascinating, like how another uh, culture that is kind of demonized quite often. And then you talk to some guys and it's like, oh, these are just normal dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very interested in checking that out. That sounds amazing.
I'll
Same.
send you guys tonight.
Okay. Hell
Fuck
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, before we wrap it up, then you have anything to plug, social media, anything like that, Truman?
I mean, Beautiful Friend on Amazon. Go check it out. Nice, lighthearted family film. Good for the kids, good for the grandmas. No, it's really heavy. Proceed with caution for sure. Please watch it. That'd be amazing. I'm financing movies independently, and that's pretty makes living comfortably challenging because everything I make, I put it into the movies and then put it into the marketing and put it into whatever else I can get it to get them out because I just I really love this stuff and I'm gonna make a lot of movies. I'm never gonna stop.
Hell yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll put a link to the movie in the show notes as well as the Beautiful Friend social media as well. So everyone watching and listening can find it easily. But yeah, Colby, anything else to add?
Nope, not that I can think of right now.
Man, thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
This was
Dude,
thank you,
thank
man.
you. Yeah, thank you. This
Yeah,
was
we
something I was really excited to talk about, especially talk to you about because there's so much deep shit in this movie, and it was really cool to pick your brain about everything.
Yeah, I'd love to just shout out Ryan Hong, who produced the movie with me. He's a good friend of mine, and he was the first person and really the only person that I sent the script to when I wrote it. And he showed up at my house 2 days later. I didn't even think I wasn't really planning on making it. I was like, this is something that I could make. It's like fiscally a realistic option.
Hmm.
And I sent him the script, and he came to my house, and he showed up and goes, "I read the script. What do you think?" He goes, 2 pages in, I went like this. And then I couldn't put it down. I read the whole thing like this. He's like, we have to make this movie. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. And he's not a producer by choice. And he did the project specifically just to make it happen. And so couldn't have done it without him, couldn't have done it without Uni, who supported all the way through. They both supported all the way through on the new film. They were asking for it. And everybody on the crew, like the handful of people that were there, my good friend Dion, Noemi, uh, Glenn, my guy Glenn. Yeah, everybody who had a hand in the project. I'm just so grateful, and it's amazing to see and have people want to talk about it.
yeah,
I
like
love
Colby
that.
said, you're always welcome. If you just want to come back and bullshit about movies, that's what
Yeah,
we do.
yeah. We've had a couple directors come and do that. Just come back on, just talk about movies.
Sick. I'd love that. Absolutely.
All right, yeah, we'll definitely make it happen then. But Truman, thank you for taking time out, come hang out with us. We do really appreciate it.
Mhm.
And for everyone watching and listening, like I said, if you haven't at this point seen Beautiful Friend, please go see it, check it out, and support Truman, support independent horror. You don't have to like it, but at least give it a chance, check it out, and show some support. But again, Truman, thank you so much, man. Again, all his information will be in the show notes. You can stay up to date and check out his films. But yeah, I guess that'll do it for another week of House of Ghouls. So we appreciate you watching, listening. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week.
What if everything you know is someone else's dream?
There you go. That's it.